Today I'll be working on a song called Damn It by Pistol Hill. You'll be seeing me record different overdubs as I search for the right sound and vibe for the song, what kind of mics and mic pre's I use, and a little background on the different instruments that I'll be using. The mandolin is a member of the lute family dating back to 18th century Italy. The instrument was played across Europe but slowly disappeared after the Napoleonic Wars. In 1878, the instrument's popularity rebounded because of a group from Madrid, Spain called the Spanish Students. This led to the golden age of the mandolin, which saw many people taking up the instrument and starting mandolin orchestras. The mandolin was even among the first recorded instruments on the Edison cylinder. In 1705, the Gibson Mandolin Guitar Company started manufacturing a newer design that is considered the forerunner of today's modern mandolin, the Gibson A4, and later on, the Gibson F4. One of the main forces that evolved and pushed the mandolin into today's music was the influence of Bill Monroe and the Monroe brothers. His style and use of the mandolin was revolutionary, and he later went on to create the bluegrass style named after his group, the Bluegrass Boys, which put the mandolin in the spotlight. Today, the mandolin is used in multiple genres. This is my Heritage H40 that my mom bought for me on my birthday in the late 80s, and I recently looked it up online, and it turns out this thing is worth more than 4 times what she paid for it. It's also what I was playing on the first song that I ever got on the radio, which is a song called Trick Busta, which was Bone Crusher's group, the Lyrical Giants, and Little John way back in the 90s sometime. Today I'm recording the mandolin with a Sennheiser 441. This is kind of an unusual mic, and you don't really see them around so much anymore. These are really interesting mics. They used to be used a lot as vocal mics. This one I got in the 80s, and I dropped it and it broke, and I opened it up. It actually has this glass tube thing in here. It's kind of weird. I think this thing sat in its box for 15 years, and I pulled it out a few months ago and started using it again, and I'm really loving this on mandolin, sometimes acoustic guitar, and definitely my classical guitar. I'm running it through my Focusrite ISA 110, it's one of the originals, and from there I'm running into my distressor compressor. I'm doing a 4:1 ratio with a medium attack and kind of a fast release. I just finished listening to the mandolin parts I did on this song, and it's not really done what I want. It's cool, but it's not taking the song where I want it to go. I want it to be a little bit more kind of sparkly and playful, but yet kind of ancient and haunting, if that makes any sense. So I got a couple ideas. The hammered dulcimer. The hammered dulcimer probably originated in the Middle East or Persia around 900 BC. Between 900 and 1200 AD, the Spanish Moors and returning Crusaders brought it back into Western Europe. It is possible that hammered dulcimers were played even earlier than this in Ireland, where they were called tympanons. No one knows when the first hammered dulcimer was brought to America, but the earliest record of it comes from Judge Samuel Sewall, who wrote of hearing one played in Salem, Massachusetts in 1777. Unlike the piano, dulcimers are often built at home by small shops and factories and thus tend to reflect unique regional folk styles. On the hammered dulcimer, I'm using 2 Josephson C42s. I normally do space pair. I thought I'd try this out. I thought it might give it a tighter sound. It took me forever to get this dang thing tuned. Tuning on this thing is a real pain. and you're tuning it with basically a piano tool. Both of the mics are running into these Cappy mic pre's. I love these things. Just really clear and sharp with a good vibe. And then they're running into my distressors. I'm just kind of barely hitting them. But now I got another idea. Mountain dulcimer. The mountain dulcimer, also known as the Appalachian dulcimer, first appeared in the early 19th century among Scotch-Irish immigrant communities in the Appalachian Mountains. However, the instrument has no known precedent in Ireland or Scotland. Now, what I find interesting about this instrument is that even though I've seen it my whole life, there are very few written records about its history. It's mostly speculative. It's thought that early settlers could not make violins because of the lack of tools and time, so they built the mountain dulcimer, which is a simpler design and way easier to build. This one was actually built by my dad, and it's the only one he ever made. I think he made it more just as for the fun of it and maybe something to put up and to go with his other woodwork, but I've kept it around. I used it one time on a score. It doesn't tune all that great because I don't think, he wasn't an instrument builder, and it's really old. And the idea behind this thing is you've got these drone strings that are just always ringing. I retuned this one for the song because it wasn't really in the right key. It's very limited in the keys it can play. But you can hold it on your lap or put it on a table. I had it on my lap, but I was sliding around. I kept knocking it off my leg, so I put it up here, which is one of the ways people will play it. I'm using a Josephson C42 small diaphragm condenser microphone, plus my Neumann TLM 170. I wasn't really sure which would be better for this thing because I've never actually gotten this deep into miking one before. My Neumann is going into this 1073 emulator, and the Josephson is going into my ISA 110, and I've got them both going into my distressors. The first time I heard this song, I knew that it needed to be both intimate and epic. It needed to go from guitar and a vocal to literally one of the biggest things I ever produced in my life. And I felt like that biggest section should be the bridge section. So I'm working on that now. I want to show you how I'm building this up. Check this out. First, I'm going to start with the rhythm section because I knew that I wanted something powerful but yet simple. So there's my rhythm section. Next thing I wanted to do was what I was going to call the drone section. I originally envisioned this section as being something that was kind of like a big landscape, not necessarily any kind of melody or something, but just like this big droning thing. So that's what I built next. I asked Jeremy Garrett, who is playing fiddle on the rest of the song, to stack up some fiddles on this bridge. So here's where we started. Check this out. Nice. Cool. Very cool. Well, after I did all that, I thought, maybe I do want some melody on top of this thing, so I added this. Check this out. Well, that's a whole lot of tracks. So I took all of that stuff and kind of blended it together, and I'm still working on the mix, but let me show you what I did. This is how I'm thinking about putting it all together. Check it out. Of course, I realized that I may have gone overboard just a little bit on this thing, but the more I got into it, working on the song and making this video, I just had a lot of ideas. So that's something I got to sort out before I get the mix done. Pistol, I know it's taken me a while to get this song done, but as you can see, I've really gotten into this one. And besides, dude, this is one of the best songs you've ever written, and I think it deserves all the attention it can get. Well, thanks for watching the video. If you like what you saw, remember to subscribe and support this channel by joining my Patreon. The link is in the description. Have a good day, and remember, be unique.
Freaking out with Billy Hume.